we are working through a series on spiritual transformation or spiritual disciplines. And I realize that openness to transformation is not typically listed as one of the spiritual disciplines, but in a lot of ways it's foundational to all of them. In some ways I think if you're not really open to transformation, why would you do spiritual disciplines? It would be like going to a soccer game and going, yeah, but I don't really feel like running. Right? Or going to yoga and going, yeah, but I don't really want to stretch at all. Right? And then why would you enter these spiritual disciplines if you really don't want to change something? I don't know. We could argue that, but that's where I'm starting anyway. It's also really nice that it's sunny today, because I think in spring is a time when we can start to imagine change much more easily. Right in the middle of February when it's gray, and it feels like it's going to be gray forever, and it's just, and you go, oh, I don't want to change, I'm just going to go and lie in bed all week. That'd be a great thing. But you know, when it gets sunny and it gets nice, you go, okay, yeah, look at all this stuff that's changing all over the place. I could maybe do that too. So it's easier to talk about this time of year, I think, than it is many other times of the year. When I looked at the two passages for this week, the John passage and the Genesis passage, the John passage has so much baggage with it. Right? I mean, like this, you know, there's Nicodemus comes to Jesus by night, and you know, it comes with anti-Semitic baggage to it. It comes with, you know, you must be born again, and those of us who, you know, sort of have this evangelical from the 70s stuff going on in our heads still, we're trying to get over that. And right, John 3:16 is in the middle of that, so that's got its baggage. And then you've got like this stuff about a couple of guys standing around talking about childbirth. You know, like how funny is that, right? So I just decided to leave all that behind and just do the Genesis passage today. And I think it's probably worth taking some time to unpack John a bit for ourselves, but not this morning. The Genesis passage is also, in so many ways, this huge passage in my life. This morning I want to share two stories about my own transformation. And I don't know if these are going to discourage you or encourage you, but you know, I'm going to try for the encouraging part. So the first story. So after high school, I went to a little school in Saskatchewan, which was a Bible school, and the purpose of Bible school was to prepare people to be Christians throughout their lives. It was just, you know, and to help, you know, people find spouses and things like that, right? And the school I went to, the teachers came from a variety of different perspectives, but the teacher who had the most impact on me was an acknowledged fundamentalist, and that was his perspective on the text, and it, you know, it was about what it was about, and you just had to read it, and there it was. And so, you know, 6-day creation, and the flood happened, and you know, being a math-minded sort of young man who thought that, you know, truth was simple and nice and straightforward, that made the most sense to me, and so I, you know, kind of emerged from that experience being very conservative in a lot of my views. And then I went on from that to another school which was less conservative and was less rigid about things like that. And I sort of entered that school prepared for a battle, that I was going to defend the truths that I knew to be true against these liberals who didn't really believe the Bible and stuff like that. And so we started with Introduction to the Old Testament, and I was expecting to have a battle over Genesis 1 and the stories of creation and 6 days and, you know, these sorts of things. And the prof didn't start with Genesis 1, as my foggy memory remembers it. He started with Genesis 12 and 11. And that's just, you know, wrong, because like Genesis 12 is this huge change in the text, because everything before that is about folks in general. And it's often thought of as the prehistory, and Genesis 12 is the start of the story of Abraham, so it's the start of the Jewish people. So you sort of got this dividing line at the end of Genesis 11, more or less. right? With like, this is often thought of as the prehistory, Genesis 1 to 11, and then Genesis 12 starts the history of the Jewish people. And this so that's the way you need to understand this text. And the prof said, well, what if we thought about these two stories, Genesis 11 and Genesis 12? So Genesis 11, by the way, is the Tower of Babel story. Right? And what if we thought about these two stories as two different ways of acting in the world? And the Genesis 11 story, the Tower of Babel, is like human progress. Right? We, human beings, are deciding that we're going to do this, and it's going to result in all of these wonderful things. You know, go team, go. And, right? So that's one way of doing things. And the other way of doing things, the Genesis 12, is very small. It's like God calls Abraham, who's nobody, and says, go do something, like just like leave all of your stuff behind. Leave your family, leave what you know, and do this new thing. God says, I'm going to do this new thing, not you're going to do this great thing. I'm going to do this through you. And so you have these two vastly different visions for how we move into the future. This is what the prof did for me. And so while I was prepared for a battle, what I got instead was a better vision of what the Bible was trying to do. It wasn't trying to give me a bunch of facts about stuff that happened way back when, and honestly, most of the time I don't really care anyway about stuff that happened way back when. But what it was trying to do was give me this vision for moving forward, for how to move forward. And so this wasn't the battle I was expecting. Right? I was expecting to defend my conservative beliefs in this text, and instead of engaging that battle, the professor gave me a new vision for my life, right? And also for how to read this, what for me was the central text in the entire universe. And I think in a lot of ways that so many of the battles in front of us as people, especially in the next few months, right, as we look toward election and all of the anger and chaos and billions of dollars spent in advertising and the millions of arguments that are going to happen, right, that if we as people of God can consistently try to present to people a better vision rather than an argument. Right? Instead of getting in people's faces and saying, this is what's true, and they'll go, this is what's true, no, this is what's true, right? We're not going to argue about truth. We're going to argue about vision. And we're going to say, well, like I hear what you're saying, but I really think my vision is better. I really think my goal is better. I really think that I can offer you something that you want more than this other side can offer you. And we can also do that for ourselves. Right? That part of this is the transformation of us. And the transformation of us is so much easier when we can say, oh yeah, I've got this better vision of who I can be. I've got this better vision of what Morgantown can be. I've got this better vision of what my family can be. And I'm going to work toward that. Right? Rather than starting with, oh, I'm a piece of crap and I have to get better. Right? Oh, I'm old and I'm just going to get older. Right? Or whatever it is you think is broken in yourself, oh, geez, I got to fix this. No. Right? If we can start with ourselves, with our friends, with our neighbors, with our crazy Uncle Ed, whoever we're engaging with at that point, and say, there's this better vision out there of who we can be as individuals and who we can be as a community. Maybe these things are going to go better. Maybe these discussions might bear some fruit, rather than just being the same old argument that we had last year and the year before and the year before that, and we're going to have again next year. So that's my first story from Genesis 12. The second place in which Genesis 12 became central to my own transformation is that this was one of the passages that we used at our wedding. And we didn't have an official color at our wedding. Or, because yeah, like seriously, right? We didn't have attendance at our wedding. We didn't have a lot of the usual trappings of wedding. Our kids come by who they are pretty naturally. We did, however, have a theme. And the theme of our wedding was, this is really silly. Because Deb and I really, at that point, didn't have anything in common. Almost nothing. That the number of things we didn't have in common was really quite extensive. The things we did have in common was pretty small most of the time. And yet, after significant effort on my part, I did convince her to marry me. And here we are. Right? But we knew going in that this is really silly. And so we used this passage, right? Because that's what, Abraham leaves this basically stable situation. He's got his family around, right? And God says, oh, go over there. Right? And it's not like Abraham's got a map. Right? He doesn't look up the GPS coordinates on his phone and go, oh, yeah, that's what this is going to be like, right? God says, to this place I'm going to show you. He doesn't even go there. He goes, just go. And it's just a really foolish thing for anybody to do. And yet, here we are, right? This call to transformation is a call into the unknown. You may have a goal for what you want to be, but you don't have control over that in a lot of ways. You can strive to be something, but what you're going to become is really mostly out of your control, especially in transformation. That's what makes it good transformation. If you've got this goal and you hit it right on, you probably didn't transform yourself very much because you're still the same person you were before. Because you're in some ways, good transformation involves transformation of your goal. That's when you know you've changed. When your goal has changed. When your ideal changes, then you know you've changed something. So, that's the second story of this long process of transformation in my life. And I realize that for many people, this idea of transformation, of moving into an unknown future is scary. So I want to give you a couple of reminders. And the first is that the future is already unknown. The future is already beyond your control. The future is already unpredictable. So it's not like you're moving from a predictable future into an unpredictable future. Right? We have a coronavirus that may or may not come. How do we know? Right? How's it going to affect your health? How's it going to affect your family? No idea. Right? We've got an election coming up. How's that going to go? No idea. Right? Even if your side wins, how's that going to go? No idea. Right? Is this church going to grow or shrink or disappear or whatever? No idea. Right? So transformation is not an option. It's going to happen anyway. So you might as well pick a worthwhile goal and try to get there, right? The old saying is it's better to aim at something and miss it than to aim at nothing and hit it. Transformation, change is going to happen. The The future is going to be here, and it is not going to be like the present. You already know that. The second piece of news in all of this is that God will love you anyway. Always worth remembering. So that if you, 10 years down the road find that you're still the same basic person that you are now, God loves you now, God will love you then. And if you get 10 years from now and find that you're a really different person, God will love that person too. So you can walk into this unknown, unpredictable, uncontrollable future, at least with that, that's a given. That's not, like, will God love me at the end of this? You know that answer already. So walk forward. The third thing to remember is that you simply cannot give up your decision-making authority even if you want to. Some people say, I'm just going to give it all to God, and then God's going to take care of it. And that makes for a really nice sermon. Absolute crap, though. Right? We gave it all up to God and went to Ghana. And you know how many decisions we had to make? Oh, that was so much work. Right? And we gave it all up to God and ended up in West Virginia, and then we just sort of sat on our butts and everything happened nice, right? Oh my goodness. Right? Or it used to be that the pastor would stand up at the wedding and tell the young woman that she could just give up all of her decision making, and the man would make all the decisions for her, and it'd all be fine. Right? And then she'd wake up the next morning and discover who this guy really was and go, wow, I got a lot of work to do here. Right? You're still going to have decisions to make. There's still going to be lots and lots and lots of decisions, and lots of work to do. And that's okay, because again, it's going to be one way or the other. You might as well go somewhere and try to do it well. Change is going to happen. Part of the reality this morning is that I've been giving you a false picture of Genesis 12. Because the story of Genesis 12 doesn't start in Genesis 12. It starts in Genesis 11. And if you start in Genesis 11, you realize that Abraham's father has already moved from home like hundreds of miles to this new place where Abraham now is. So Abraham's already on the move. He's been on the move his entire life. Like the difference from he starts out in what is called Ur of the Chaldees, which is basically Babylon, right? And he gets to Haran, which is like way north of Damascus. So he's moved, 300-400 miles already. When was the last time you walked 300 or 400 miles with a bunch of sheep? That's a lot of work. And they've done that already. He's already nomadic. And so God isn't calling him out of, this really settled existence to suddenly pick up and leave. He's already picked up. And he's already living in a tent, because you're moving with your sheep. You don't have to want to build a new house every night. You just want to be able to put up your tent. And so I think that's the reality of our lives too, is that we're already changing. We're already becoming something else. Sometimes we're not happy about this. Right? Sometimes we're really, really happy about this. It's going to happen anyway. So I invite you to embrace this and to do it as joyfully as you possibly can. Just to take a few minutes to think about this, and then we'll respond